Hey YouTube, Casey here, and today we have episode 3 of my MOC series, and we have a build of Saleucami here. Now, if you're a pretty big Star Wars fan, then you might recognize this scene from Revenge of the Sith during the Order 66 scene, in which we get to see the 91st kill their Jedi General, but I didn't actually include Stas Ali in this build. I kind of wanted to focus on the clones, and I really like how this came out. You can see one of the main focuses of the build is this bark speeder here. I like how the vehicle kind of draws your eye and how it's moving down this big stream that I have going through the whole model. I used a combination of both very clear pieces but also the darker translucent color just so I could have a little bit of a more interesting feel with the water, and I'm really happy with how the colors look. And then I also made those pieces both tiled and plated just to add a little bit of texture so that the water looks like, you know, it's a stream or river, but it's a little more rough than just flowing through very cleanly. Now, the terrain of Saleucami isn't the most interesting, with it mostly being a lot of dirt, and so I wanted to make sure it looked very interesting without it just being, you know, brown or dark tan or something like that alone. And so I made sure to do a mix of both colors, and you can kind of see how the scenery flows from being dark tan in some sections and being brown in other sections. And then I also sprinkled some of that olive green to have a little bit more interesting of colors going on. And I think that green just adds such a nice pop of color to the build. Obviously, it's not like the brightest color or anything, but I think it just makes the ground a really interesting part where otherwise it wouldn't be. Some other green that I threw into the build is this big kind of grass patch that you can see with some dead battle droids over it. And I like how it came out. It looks like very thick bushes, and just those battle droids laying down next to them look really good. They are Clone Army Customs battle droids, and I just really like these a lot more than the official ones because they're a bit more posable. Another thing that I added to spice the scenery up a bit is this big round ball plant. And Saleucami definitely has some interesting plants, I'll say that, but this one did come out really good, and I used a lot of the brickhead snot pieces, which is studs knot on top, just to make this. A lot of the time it can be hard to make spheres out of Lego, but I think that the plates that I used for this one actually helped make it look really nice. And then I also included some slopes as well to make the build a little more interesting and also have a little bit of that olive green in it. Now, one of my favorite parts of this build is the bark speeder itself, and I actually based it off of a set that I had when I was a kid, which is the 2011 Clone Trooper Battle Pack. You might remember that one. It's the one with the bomb squads, but I kind of just expanded on that build and made it a little more detailed with some modern pieces. And then I put some clear pieces on the bottom so that it can be hovering over the river. Now, one thing that's always important when making clone builds like this is how you pose the figures, and you kind of want to make sure you spread them across the build just so that they're all not cluttered into one spot. I wanted it to look like this bark speeder is flying by where a lot of troopers have already destroyed all of the droids in this area, and so they're kind of just coming down this hill towards the river. And you can see because of this, I made the two troopers with longer guns kind of holding them in a more casual state instead of having them aimed down or anything like that. I know this is creating a little bit of storytelling, but I thought it would be cool if one of the troopers was actually a little bit more alert and everyone else was about to be caught off guard, and, you know, this trooper's noticing a droid battalion that's in the distance and he's ready to fight. Moving on from that, though, the last part of the build that I haven't really talked about yet is these two palm trees that I built. And while the trunks of these trees don't really use any crazy techniques, just with some 1x1 circular bricks stacked on top of each other, I did actually really like this use of a superhero stand piece for hanging up the palm tree leaves. And while it might look weird from this angle, seeing that clear piece prop up the leaves, I do like the angle that it gives, and when you're looking at it from the front, you can't tell at all. But yeah, I think that's about it for this build, so thank you all for watching. The next one that I'm going to be working on is Felucia, which is really exciting because obviously we know that that's where Commander Bly is during Order 66, and he's one of my favorite clones, so I'm very happy to build that. But with that all said, remember that Christ is King, and may the Force be with you.